I don't, what's the new content to share?
No, just any, since our meeting at 11 o'clock, nothing.
Oh, I'll send you a text.
Okay, all right. Well, should we let folks in now?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
okay.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm ready.
Oh, I see some faces that I know. Hi, Kimberly. Thanks for joining us. We're gonna give folks maybe a couple minutes to make it in, and then we'll get started. Great turnout. Dr. Kelly, your call.
It does look like 102 people are here. So, and it's 7:03. Good evening, everyone. We definitely want to honor everyone's time. Thank you for being in attendance at our very first community forum for our strategic planning process. I greatly appreciate your attention to this matter. For the next 90 minutes, you are going to be facilitated through a process where you are helping our schools and also our departments with establishing our goals and metrics and strategic priorities with which we will be able to align our annual plans. So on behalf of the administrative team, our Board of Education, and the entire staff at Princeton Public Schools, I would like to thank all of you. And I am going to turn the floor over to our facilitators from Performance Fact. I will say this, just a huge favor before we get started. One housekeeping, if you could right now just mute yourselves, because I think some people may have conversations happening. Because we will be recording tonight's conversation so that we can upload it onto our district's website for those who are unable to attend. So Performance Fact, move to you. Lauren, I will turn the floor over to you. Thank you.
Thank you all. It's nice to meet everyone virtually. We're up to 119 people. This is one of the largest groups we've ever worked with. So I want to commend you for your interest and commitment to PPS. This is your evening. It's one of several conversations we will be having with your community around the strategic plan. I'm going to start by asking my colleagues to just briefly introduce themselves. And let me start with Kay, and then Amrit, then Lauren.
Hi, my name is Kay Jadrich. I have been with Performance Fact for a couple of years. I live in the Chicagoland area. So I'm joining you from there, where the rest of my team is in Oakland or in the California area. Looking forward to working with each and every one of you, and looking forward to a good meeting.
Amrit.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Amrit Waters. I am a project manager here at Performance Fact, and I work mostly with our data and survey analysis process. And it's nice to see all of you here today.
Okay, Lauren will go next, and she'll also share some, some tips for how we're going to conduct the meeting.
Very good. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren Lafke, and I'm a senior associate with Performance Fact. I'm born and raised actually out on Long Island. I'm not too far from y'all, but have been out on the West Coast for the good part of my life. My background's in teaching and learning, principal, teacher, associate, kind of superintendent level, chief academic officer out here in the Bay Area. I'm just excited to be here with you. I want to give you a few tips. We have the meeting set up so that you might not be able to unmute yourselves during the main presentation time. We will be having some whole group, and then we'll have some small group breakout rooms where there's going to be a lot of discussion. You will be able to unmute yourselves there. You should be able to turn on your cameras. We had a little bit of a glitch with that earlier. So if there's an issue with that, you can let us know. We'll try to fix that so you can see us and we can see you all. And I think the only other thing that I would say is if, as we're presenting, you have questions that come up or things you want to ask, you can feel free to raise your hand and or just put information into the chat, and we're going to try to keep up with all of your questions as we go through. Just know as the group gets larger, it just might take us a little while to get to everybody's needs. So, but please feel free to reach out, and you can also, if you have an issue or anything that comes up, this was a public link, and we like to keep everything wide open so people can be here and don't have any challenges getting online and sharing your thoughts and perspectives. But if anything does kind of pop up on your screen or into your frame of reference at some point that you think maybe shouldn't be here, please feel free to let us know. We're going to be monitoring that, but we'll make sure we want to keep everybody safe and feeling comfortable. So I'm excited to kick it off. I'm going to turn it back over to Mutiyu so we can get into the work.
Great, thank you. Thank you, team. I'd like to start by asking each of you to make 2 commitments. I'd like you to make up your mind up front to be open. Think about the opposite of open. Opposite is closed. So get a feel for what closed feels like. If you're closed, we don't get the benefit of your insight, and it also does. Your colleagues don't get a chance to hear what you have to say and be able to influence you or have you influence them. So just be open. And again, that's a commitment you can make up front. Being open doesn't mean you accept everything that comes during this forum, but it expresses your willingness to at least entertain what might come up from other folks who are on this call. The second commitment I'd like you to make is to make up your mind to have fun. That should be easy because you chose to be here. You didn't have to be here. You chose to be here, but kind of tell yourself that you're going to spend 90 minutes with 146 other people, and you're going to enjoy yourself. And again, make those 2 commitments up front. There's no preset formula. We don't have any reports to present to you. We're actually going to be co-creating that with you. And we'll also share with you the other parts of the process we're taking folks through. Kelly, in the chat, we have the link, right? So if you could go to the chat, you see a hyperlink. In case you want to follow along, that should be there now. I'm going to start with the link that says main PowerPoint. Some of the material we have is in both English and Spanish for those who prefer to follow along in Spanish. Can you see my screen?
Not yet, Mutiyu.
Not yet. Okay, let's fix that. Thank you. Okay, how about now, Lauren?
You are good to go. Just needs to be a little bit bigger.
Great. Okay, so strategic planning. First slide I want to go through is just to, you've met us, but I want to put into some perspective what we see as our role. We very proudly describe ourselves as facilitators. And what a facilitator does is to guide, not to command or control. It wouldn't work anyway. But a guide also does direct, leaving it up to you to choose whether you want to follow the direction or not. So we'll be suggesting things to you. You are under no obligation individually or as a district to accept direction. But we invite you in the spirit of being open to at least consider them. You've met the folks on the team. A couple slides about what we do on this. Most of our work, I'll say 80% of it, is around strategic planning and implementation of the strategic plan. We do a lot of work around equity audits and also leadership development work. In the past, I formed the company in 1997. So this is our 25th year. During that period of time, we've worked with more than 100 school districts across the US and in at least 12 states in the US. So I put this slide, this is not in your handout. I thought I'd put this up just to give you a feel for the diversity of clients we've worked with. Some are very small, like Vashon Island, which has only 1,200 students. Some are very large, like Sacramento City Unified with more than 50,000 students, or Seattle. Some are mostly white district, like Muskegon, Norway, and Armstrong. Some are very diverse, like Oakland. So we work with spectrum, both in terms of size and in terms of the demographics of the district itself. This slide gives you a window into how we think. We call it our premise, and the premise is that there's nothing wrong with the students, not a single one of them, and that all of them will achieve at high levels when instruction meets their needs. Anything that the students have learned well already must have been taught well already. If they've learned it, somebody taught them well, or some people taught them well. If you accept that, then you also have to accept the corollary statement that anything the students have not learned well yet must not have been taught well yet. So the place to start in improving learning for students is by fixing our practices, our teaching practices, our leadership practices, and our organizational practices, because we suggest those practices are the preconditions or the precursors to students being successful. In other words, today, for example, we'll be looking at a lot of data, almost 90 pages worth of data for you to process to some point, to some extent. This premise is suggesting that the data is not just talking about how well the students are performing, it's a reflection of how well we, the adults, have set things up for them to be successful. There'll be parts of the data with which you'll be very happy, you'll be very pleased, and you should be, and we should celebrate those. There'll be other parts of the data too that you may find troubling. And our collective goal is to figure out how do we get all students home, not just some of them, but all of them. And we do that without asking any one student to sacrifice what they have. But it's about getting all kids home, all of them, without exception. So our strategic planning process, it's about aligning our external perspective with your vision for your district. And the district is fairly diverse. Out of every 20 students, you will see us presenting data in terms of out of every 20, just so we put a human face to the percentages. 11 out of every 20 students in PPS are white students. 4 out of every 20 students are Asian students. 3 are Latinx, and 1 African-American or Black, and 1 2 or more races. There are other ways to look at the diversity within the district, and that's in terms of programs that some students might qualify for. Out of every 20 students, 4 of them, about 20%, are students with disabilities. Slightly fewer than less than 1 out of every 20 are English learners, and about 10%, or 2 out of every 20, come from homes classified as low income. So we have both the racial ethnic diversity, and then you have the diversity in terms of these other demographics. So why plan? We suggest that the primary reason for planning is alignment. We're now up to 155 people on this call. How do we move from the situation or the set of conditions depicted by the arrows on the left to the ones depicted by the arrows on the right? And you will notice that none of those arrows has to give up who or what it is. But we just have to figure out how to align our people, our processes, our programs, our structures. How do we align everything so we can go in the same direction, all in the spirit of making sure that every student succeeds. So we've designed our process to bring diverse voices together. And the way we do that is through a series of teams. And you are the CF team on this page. This is one of two community forums we'll be holding to get your input into the process. You're coming into the process about 2 weeks after the whole thing started. So nothing has been decided. In fact, there's not much to share with you at this point because you are going to be one of the co-constructors, co-designers of the work. There's a core planning team of about 50 people. That team has all stakeholders represented. We're doing some work with students, including a survey, the results of which you'll get to analyze. We have a group of mostly teachers that we call the instructional focus team. We've done a couple presentations to the board. There's a team of people I like to describe as movers and shakers. It's called the alignment team. And in fact, some of you on this forum are parts of more than one team. It's a very open process. It's never done until it's done sometime in late summer, early fall, when the final report goes to the board. So, come in with we invite you to come in with your ideas tonight, and again on the end of this month, on the 30th, when we have the second forum. These are some of the meetings that have been held so far. So what's the process that we're going to take you through? It asks 4 questions. The first question is, what data do we have? We call that data. What does the data say? We call that analysis. Why does the data look that way? We call that discovery. What are we going to do about it? We call that solution. And this evening is about asking you to do the first 2 blocks, the data and the analysis discovery fast forward. You don't have infinite amount of time, and we don't want to waste your time. So we will be moving the conversation along very quickly. You have access to all the information that everyone else does. So if your questions don't get answered this evening, or if you feel you need more time to process, please feel free to do so, and you can still share your feedback with us. But we have to, in the interest of time, we have to put this fast forward. But again, you get a chance to continue the deliberations after this meeting. So most of today, in fact, pretty much all of today, will be to focus you on this forum on the first 2 blocks. You're going to be looking at some data around student learning and achievement, and we're going to be asking you to identify some strengths and concerns based on what you see in the data. And then finally, to identify some root causes. So after analyzing the data from your own perspective, what do you think are the underlying causes of why the data looks the way it does? What makes the parts of the data that look good look so good? And what makes the parts of the data that don't look as good yet look the way they do? So that's your focus for this evening. If time permits, perhaps in about 10 minutes, would like your feedback on some work that the core planning team has done around a portrait of our PPS graduate. If we have time, we'll do that this evening, 10, 15 minutes. If we don't, we'll pick it up next time. And so final slide before we get into the data is to show you an outline of what a finished report will look like. It will consist of 3 parts. Part 1 is about getting clear on what we, all of us collectively, want for our students. The second circle will be, what do we need to do differently or better so that we have even more effective instruction that meets the needs of all students without exception. And the third part of the recommendations will be, what's the infrastructure or the supports and services we need to put in place for students and the adults so that circle number 2 can happen, so that we can get all students home. So the finished document will really follow those 3 circles. And if you want to get a feel for what goes with each one of those, I'll leave this on for a few seconds. just for your perusal. Okay, great, thank you. So I'm going to go back just one slide. Now we're going to take you into the data and describe a process for analyzing the data and then send you into breakout rooms. Okay, so please take out, if you could go to exhibit in the hyperlink. Okay, let's see. There we go. In this document, I see anonymous kangaroo is already in. Please open the PPS data booklet, English or Spanish, as you elect. And I'm going to walk you through the booklet because that's the primary source of data you're going to be using this evening. Okay, Lauren, can people still see my screen? Can you see the 4-lens protocol booklet?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm going to take about 5-7 minutes to orient you to the data. And then,
Muthu,
yes.
part of the question, one of the questions that came up in the chat was around sharing a definition of equity. I know it's in the data booklet, the one that we suggest. So just take a moment to address that.
I will do that. Thank you. It's great. So on the cover of this booklet, it shows you the types of data we'll be looking at. Part B will be student voice data, which will be results of surveys conducted with students in grades 3 through 12. It was done about a month ago. So you get a chance to see what the students have to say. We're refielding, conducting for the second time, the high school survey. The data in this booklet represents feedback from about 380 students. We've determined that that's not a high enough response rate, even though it's statistically significant. It's not high enough, so we're rerunning the high school survey, and about 700 students have completed it as of a few days ago. So that could be different later on. Then we'll also show you some data around student performance in language arts and math and science. Basically, the academic data is part C, and part D is about student access to higher level coursework, some teacher data, some enrollment data, and so on. So it's very rich data. So Lauren asked about equity. Maybe before getting to the definition, I want to put it in personal terms. I have 2 daughters. They both fairly old now. I say they off my payroll. One is 37, one is 42. And they couldn't be any more different when they were growing up. And there was the daughter that didn't need any guidance or direction. She was 2 or 3 grade levels ahead. She could figure things out. She was the kind of kid that will give us a list of what we have to do for anything that she wants. She will send you a list, even before she was 8 years old. Our sister, our older sister, was very different. You know, everything was much harder, much more challenging for her. She struggled, you know, through school. And so I get emotional sometimes still. So in raising both kids, same parents, same household, we had to differentiate our support for them because their needs were different. We wanted both of them to be successful. We wanted them to be the kinds of child to turn out to be the kind of person that any parent would want their kids to be. But we have to use different approaches with them. We have to apply different resources. Even discipline was different because one could do our homework in a flash without any prompting. One needed some prompting. The older daughter ended up having an IEP, and we struggled with that, and so on and so forth. I bring that up because that's the essence of equity. The essence of equity is providing every child the means, the opportunity, and the resources they need so that they can be successful. And that's where our equity imperative, the second part of the slide on the screen, that's where it comes from. That what I want for my two daughters, both of whom are quite successful, and again, off my payroll, they're not giving me money yet, but at least they're off my payroll. So what I want for both of them is where they've landed, but we had to differentiate or allocate resources and opportunities to scaffold their journey. That's the essence of equity. So we want equitable access, like I did for my two daughters, to produce equal outcomes. Equal outcomes doesn't mean they do exactly the same thing, but in their own lives, each one of them is quite successful. So that's where we come from when it comes to equity. So it's a very personal thing. And I think any parent that has more than one kid can relate to what I just said. Or even if you have two nieces or two nephews, you treat them differently, but your goals for them, your expectation for them, your aspirations for them, your prayers for them, it's for all of them to be successful. And in our school system and PPS, we're not there yet. There's some groups that are doing very well, and we should make sure that they continue to do well. So I wasn't going to sacrifice the expectations for my younger kid because of where the older daughter is. We're moving both of them up by giving them what each one of them needs at a given time, at that time. That's what equity is. And in this case, we'll be applying it across an entire system, but the fundamentals of equity is no more sophisticated than what I just described. Access to resources and opportunities, whether it's for your 2 or 3 kids in your household or across a spectrum of students in a place we call a school system. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is to orient you to the data packet. And then we want to give about 45 minutes, at least 40 minutes, you go play with the data, all right? So in your data pack, you can follow along with me. I'm gonna start with page 9, let me see, page 9 or page 10. Give me 1 second, please. Okay, great. So student voice on page 9, the survey that I referred to, we had 583 elementary students completed our survey. 619 middle school students completed the survey, and about 389 high school students. That's a little bit low. Statistically, it's significant, but it's low. That's why we're redoing the high school survey. But still, we want you to process the data that's been gathered up to this point. And here's how the data is displayed. We're going to look at elementary. The others are pretty much the same layout. We asked them in the first column questions such as, I can learn almost anything if I try hard enough. I work hard to do my best in school. My school is a welcoming and safe place to be, etc. And what we're displaying in the horizontal black bars will be the proportion of students who agree or strongly agree with the statement. So question number 1 said, I can learn almost anything if I try hard enough. Okay, 76%, 76.9% of elementary students agree that they can learn almost anything if they try hard enough. So that's what the black bar represents. All elementary students in grades 3 through 5, about 77% agree with that statement. Second question, I work hard to do my best in school, 83.6% agree, and so on. So that's what this column is about. The next 3 columns shows you by difference how each one of the grade levels responded. So for 3rd grade students, they were 4 percentage points below the average. All right, so for 3rd grade students, instead of the average of 76.9, it is 76.9 minus 4, or 72.9. And because it's below the average, we just shade anything that's less responsive, less positive, pink through red. The 4th grade students were 2 percentage points below the average also, but your 5th grade students were 4 percentage points above the average. So you can see the average rating, and you can also see deviations from the average by grade level. That's what this page represents. Now, if I go to the next slide, this is the same data, this time by gender. So in the first column, it's exactly the same questions as on the previous slide. It's the same average as on the previous page because it's the same question asked of the same kids. But now we're disaggregating the response by male, female, or other as self-identified by the students. So you can see already which students are having a great time and which ones seem to be struggling. So we've broken it down by grade level, by gender, and we're going to give you one more breakdown, actually two more. This is the same data, this time by race and ethnicity. All right. And we look at American Indian and Alaskan Native, Asian and American and Pacific Islanders, Black, Latinx, white, multiracial, and those who self-describe as other or didn't indicate. Okay. And then the last breakdown, I think we did it for elementary by school. So you can see the rating for each of the 4 elementary schools. Okay. So for those of you who choose to work on elementary, you will have those 4 pages to process. Then I won't go through the others in detail. This is middle school. Middle school has more questions. So each DSAG is about 2 pages long, right? So you have by grade level, by gender, by race and ethnicity. And then we go to high school, same thing. We have high school by grade level, high school by gender, high school by race and ethnicity.
Great.
Okay.
Mutu,
Yes.
I wanted to just jump in to address a few of the questions that came up in the chat or some of the noticings.
Yes, please.
So first, there was a conversation and discussion around what we mean by equally outcomes and if those equal outcomes limit or put limits on particular groups. I just wanted to reiterate that the process of strategic planning is designed for the community to develop those goals and outcomes that are most important across the community. It's not that we're, it's through the discussion that you will be coming up with what your goals and outcomes are, and there's no limitation or design for limits on that. But that will be something to bring up for sure in the breakout rooms. The other question was around when the survey was administered, and I just wanted to confirm the dates of the survey administration.
Amri?
It was last month.
Yeah, so it was last month. So it's from this year. And yes, the high school survey is being re-administered due to a low response rate, although the statistical significance of the groups and representation still provides information to review. And then the other noticing was just around the statistical differences, or like if it's just like +1, -1 between groups, you're absolutely right. There's not a real big difference. But as you come into looking at the larger discrepancies where one group of students or a school might be a +20 and then another school is a -10, you see there's a pretty significant difference in those. So
yeah,
wanted to just make those, but these are all great things to take a look at.
And some of these you're gonna you will do in the room. In essence, we inviting you to participate as the constructors of the data also. There's no larger intelligence out there that's going to do all this stuff. So imagine we're up to 179 people, each one of you with your own perspective on the data. That makes for a really rich conversation, much richer analysis than if my team did it. So your questions are great. I would suggest you bring that up in your breakout room. Your colleagues might have a response. If they don't, bring it back to the large group. But you are the ones who are going to be analyzing the data. It has not been done for you by anybody else. Certainly not by my team. Okay. So let's just get you into the rooms, all right? And now that, oh, sorry, the orientation to the data. We've only so far oriented you to the survey data, but it's more than survey. I just want to get you guys talking. There's more than just the survey in your packet. We also have data on outcomes. Okay, this is on page 27. And the outcomes data that we've gathered for you cover these 6 areas: absenteeism rate, English language arts, mathematics, science, graduation rate, and the post-high school outcomes for your students. And those data are typically expressed in terms of out of every 20 students. So here's an example. I don't want that one. Give me 1 second, please. Okay, it's a little bit smaller, but you can see the whole page. So this page, for example, this is page 29. It's showing the achievement of students, PPS students in English language arts. These aggregated by student group. So first, we express the data in terms of every 20 students. So in 2019, 12 out of every 20 students in 3rd grade passed the state test across the district. 19 out of every 20 students in grade 7 passed the state test, and so on. So this is a district-wide column. There's no data here for American Indian because statistically not enough, fewer than 11 students, so they don't report data if they're fewer than 11 kids. For Asian, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders, this is the column. For Black students, for Hispanic students, for special ed students, and so on. So on one page, you have a lot of data, and by colorizing it, you can get we hope you get a quick read on how different groups of students are doing. The goal is to get everything green and blue. That's why we set up our public schools. How we get them there, it's a different story. And those students who are doing well already, we ought to make sure they continue doing well. And those not doing well yet, we also need to figure out how do we get more students doing well. So a lot of the academic data is presented in this format. And then finally, we have one more set, beginning on page 41, which is data about access. So you have enrollment, teacher experience and diversity, participation in higher level courses, social sciences, visual and performing arts, technology, as well as data around discipline. So each one of you does not have to cover all the areas. We're going to ask you to choose a very narrow area to spend 40 minutes on, so you get a chance to go deep. And we have enough people doing that, that we can, again, analyze everything as a collective. But each one of you will be asked to focus in a very narrow area. Lauren, you want to take them through that, or do you want me to walk through it?
I can go ahead and set up
Okay,
the process. So I'm going to take over just sharing my screen. I believe I have it open. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We are going to invite you to select which set, I'll make it a little bit bigger, sorry, which set of data you would like to discuss with folks in the room. So the first, if you're interested in looking at elementary school data from the student survey, we invite you to join room 1. If you're interested in joining the survey for middle school, we invite you to join room 2. The survey for high school is room 3. The academic achievement data, is the outcomes data, is in room 4. Looking at graduation post-secondary is room 5. Absenteeism, enrollment, suspensions, room 6, and then teacher experience and participation in coursework, which is access, is room 7. What's going to happen is we're going to balance the rooms so that we don't have more than 8 or so folks in a group, so everybody will have a chance to talk. But we ask you just to kind of like all flow into the first room, and then you'll see you might be invited to room. So I go to the elementary survey, there's 20 people in that room. it will pop up. It might invite you into room 8 or room 13. So this is just kind of our overflow seating, so to speak. So we'll go ahead and do that. You will, when the room's open, you should have the ability to self-select into the breakout room area that you would like to join, rooms 1 through 7. If it's not working for you, it's not popping up, you have no idea what's going on, don't worry, we'll help move you where you need to be, okay? Each of the breakout rooms, there is a link. Once you land in your room, there is a link, and it will have some instructions here for what we're asking you to do. First is just to spend time with the data, continue, build upon some of the conversation you already started, deepen that in your, discussions. And what we're asking you to come up with is to consider what are the 2 or 3 most essential strengths or areas of concern that you're seeing reflected in the data. What's standing out to your group? And then Muti, I'm going to let you talk a little bit more about the underlying causes, but that's ultimately your first step, is just like, what is the data? Let's try to make some shared meaning of what the data is saying or isn't saying. Okay, so that's going to be the process of getting to those rooms.
Yeah.
Would you want to talk about the shift happens for?
I'm not sure we'll get to that today.
Oh, it
but
won't.
if
Okay.
your group does, if you could explain why you think the data is the way it is, do part B, but I'm not sure we'll have time. I think just focus on what are the strengths and concerns that you see in the data, and then come back to share that with the whole group.
Great.
Hey, Lauren, can you go back to the master links and flash up the rooms and explain to folks again, please, what it means whenever it's time for them to join their breakout groups?
Yeah, it means that when you decide which room you want to go to, you go to room 1. If it's for elementary, room 2. That's what you mean, Amrit? Yeah.
The question
High
came.
school, yeah, thank you. High school goes to room 3. Academic achievement, which is K-12, goes to room 4. Secondary, post-secondary attainment, room 5. Enrollment, absenteeism, etc. Room 6, room 7. Once you guys enter into those, you might see a little window pop up that moves you to a different room, but you still will be with the same data and be with your peers who want to talk about that data. Okay. Kay, are you opening the rooms?
Yes, I will open them now, and they will get an invitation to join.
Yeah. And then the other thing, just as if you're looking for the data booklet, we have the data booklet here. We also have a data booklet in Spanish, and I believe we have a Spanish interpreter here somewhere in the mix. So I'm going to let Amrit, or maybe
Let's go.
that while I do the movement. Okay. Folks, is it popping up for folks? There we go. It's magic. It's happening.
Awesome. Lauren, can you put the
Oh,
table?
I'm sorry. Oh my
Yeah, the
goodness.
room. Yeah, thank you.
How ridiculous. All right, here we go. Okay, will you start moving folks from room 3 into room 10?
From 3 to 10, okay.
Amrit, will you start moving folks from 4 to room 11?
Let's do 40 minutes in the breakout room.
Yeah, we're still just balancing.
Yeah. Stephen Griffiths had a question.
Oh, you need to unmute him. Let's go ahead and there's some more people in the waiting room too. So we'll get them in a minute once we get people in.
Should I let me know?
I would just wait a moment with you till we get, and we'll deal with the waiting room once we get this moved out. All right, how are we for 10? All right. So now we're gonna start moving into room 17, okay?
Wow.
Room 4 or
Oh, shoot. Room 3,
room 3?
yeah.
Okay.
How are you doing, Amrit?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
4 to 11?
Okay.
I still see a lot of people in the main room. Does people know like where to go to select a room?
I don't see where you can select a room.
Yeah, I would like to learn how to select a room.
That's great. Beth, which room would you like to be in?
I would like to be in one of the high school rooms.
Sure thing, sending you there now. Let's see. Beth 2, 17.
While other people are waiting, one of the ways, the easiest way that I do it, if you're on your computer, there's 4 squares at the bottom that says breakout rooms. When you click on that, you'll see all the breakout rooms and you can pick which room number and then just hit the join button.
Sorry, where we can see the breakout room?
If you're on a computer at the very, bottom of your screen,
Bottom right.
there's like 4 little squares and it says breakout rooms. When you click on that, you'll see the rooms that are open and you just click which room number you want and you hit the blue button that says join.
I'm not.
If I'm
Or you could call out your name and they'll
Call out your name, I'll
move you.
move you.
Okay, I'm Mickey and I wanted to go to absenteeism and suspensions.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Anyone else need help?
Hi, my name is Fang Chu Sun. I like to go to room number 4. Thank you.
Is it possible to select a room if I'm on my cell phone?
You should be able to.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't see the options anywhere on my screen.
If you give us your name, we can just move you.
Yeah, Fang Chu Sun, last name S-U-N, room number 4.
Yeah, I moved you to room 4. Do you see any
You
pop-up?
just have to hit join on your device. Yep. Okay.
See pop-up? Okay.
Anyone else need support?
Yeah, we have about 37 people not assigned yet.
Yeah.
Mr. Zhang, what room would you like to go into? I'm using phone. Can't find the link. Let's see.
Maybe the rest are not actually here.
How about you, Kimberly?
I'm gonna go join 4, or I think is the overflow room 11 for achievement.
Is
You
11
want
full?
The achievement room. Okay.
This 4 already has 37 people in it, so
Oh my
I don't
goodness.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kimberly, all right. Let's move you to 11.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
I would like 11 too at Shamley.
Shelly, okay.
How are you, Keisha? Okay, Helen wants to go to room 5.
Okay.
I think this person, Zhang last name, looks like they found the room,
Okay.
looking in the chat. Someone says Helen's phone. Can someone put me in room 5?
Yes, Helen, I just did. You should see it pop up. Yes, I think Helen's there.
Then May, did you want to go to one of the survey rooms? Yes, you're looking at the survey results. You don't need to take the survey.
Oh, no.
Which room would you like to go to?
Okay.
Hi, could I be in the room 11?
Room, sorry, who was
That
that?
was iPhone.
iPhone.
Yeah.
iPhone, okay.
我是用心挑了。
嗯
月光女神钥匙而来，金伯利钻石基因实验室。
嗯
Room 4, May would like to go to Emery.
Okay.
Any room 4 is put in 25. 25 is the same as room 4. It's just there's about 37 people still in room 4. So it's a little too big.
Yeah. Can you guys move them to the other room without?
Two,
I
20.
think we're trying. Yeah.
Okay.
I had one volunteer who said she would.
Okay. Thank you, May.
25.
May hasn't moved yet.
Yes.
Yeah, she has to accept the movement.
Hopefully people won't get mad as I move them randomly. Oh, well,
Okay.
Yeah.
they can always come back.
Mm-hmm.
Room 4.
May, are you okay? Okay, maybe she stepped away.
Mhm.
3 looks reasonable.
What's room 4?
Academic achievement.
Oh, wow. We got almost nobody last time.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to move a few more. Let's see.
I was wondering if I could take a crack at, I think people aren't quite understanding what a universal goal is. Just based on what I read in the chat. When they come back, I'd like to take a crack at it. I don't know that it will help, but.
That's good. Hi, Michelle.
Hello, guys. Sorry I'm late. I had another meeting.
All right.
That's okay.
How's it going?
We still have 31 people to place.
Oh, not bad.
You know what I might do, guys, if I can't do it because I'm not a host. I would just like randomly assign them to
At
rooms.
this point, yeah.
Because this is the interaction. I don't know if they're like expecting that something else is going to happen.
Okay.
Doing it.
I would just randomly assign them.
Okay.
To new rooms.
Nobody's accepting our invitation to leave room 4.
Oh, they probably think that there's no other room 4.
Yeah, no, I went in and said it, but I can say it again.
Maybe they enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
Samuel, are you there? Okay. Maybe some of the folks stepped away.
He's good.
It's going down.
Yeah, I'm assigning them randomly, like Dr. Kelly said.
The other question that came up from one participant was just like, why are we doing this? As a parent, like, what is it? Why are we doing this? Is there a reason why we're doing a plan? So.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a Dr. Kelly question.
Yeah. Could be wrapped in with the universal goals.
Room 8 is asking for help.
Oh, this because they're all alone.
Yeah, there's only one person.
So we can move them out.
No, let's go there. And
well, they're the same as room 1, right? So why shouldn't we just move them to room 1?
Yeah.
Room 12 and 13 both have 3 people. And room 18 has 1 person.
Okay. You want me to go into room 18?
Sure.
Oh,
Nope,
what's
they
room 18?
left. They left.
They left. Okay. All right.
We've invited everybody here to join a room.
Okay. Well, I know Stephanie and Keisha are ambassadors. And I saw Ebony earlier also. So approximately how many rooms total do we have are being used now?
What is 13? Hold on, 13 is the same as which one? 13 is the same as
this best room 6. I was looking at that. We should move them to 6 or
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, did you do it?
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Okay. We're using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rooms.
Okay, that's good.
One of the rooms has 38 people in it.
That's a party. And that was room 3, you said?
4.
Room 4, the academic one.
Yeah.
Yeah. A high school survey, how many people in there? Room 3?
There's 2 rooms for that. Hello, Amy and Denise. We're just in breakout rooms. If you'd like to join one, we can orient you to the work that's being done.
They might need the link put in the chat again if they're just joining.
For sure.
Okay.
Move to, in response to your question, room 3 for the high school, we have 17 in room 3, 9 people in room 10, and 13 in room 17.
And all of those are about high school.
All of those are high school.
So that's about 40 people.
Yeah.
How about room 7? So suspension.
7 has 7.
7 has 7. And there's no 14, right?
No.
Okay. In that case, it's mostly high school and the academic. Imagine if we had 900.
I'm going to send a message out just reminding folks to be prepared to share their priority strength or areas of concern.
Okay.
What time are we coming back? Pretty soon?
Let's, Dr. Kelly, do you think we can go 5-7 minutes over without people getting really ticked off?
I don't think they will get ticked off at all. I think they probably will go as long as you allow.
Oh, that's
But
great.
I think just to be respectful of the time, I would try not to go over that, just because there are a lot of staff on the line as well.
Okay, so maybe when you come back,
meeting this week.
we'll ask if it's we don't want to honor people's time. If they have to leave, that's fine. We'll circle back. But if they can stay, maybe between 5 and 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
Then okay.
And I'm unsure if, hopefully, people understand the process is more of gathering feedback, not this collective discourse.
Correct.
So sending that message, how much time would you?
Let's give them 15 minutes. Well, no, that'll take us to.
No, that'll give you 10 minutes left.
Yeah. Well,
and should you share with them the message of what you're anticipating their spokesperson to bring back?
That's what I'm doing right now. But I just want to tell them how much time they have.
Daphne was there at the beginning.
Okay, so I didn't see.
Yeah.
I would just have her close out.
Okay.
All right, Muti, I'm gonna give him 5 more minutes.
Okay.
We
Yeah,
added that,
that's fine. And then we can be talking.
Okay.
We can have them debrief.
Becca, you need to go back into room 4.
Mm-hmm.
Get you in there. Just looking for you.
Hi, Miss Jen.
Hi, Dr. Kelly. Sorry, I'm late.
Oh, no. They're in breakout groups now. So sometimes, let's see. I'm gonna put that back in the chat room. Wait, can I? No, I can't. Oops.
So Muti, you have the breakout room numbers to call on: room 1, room 2, room 3.
You said it's 1 through 10.
1 through 7,
Mm-hmm.
then 10, 11, 17, and 25.
So that's 11 rooms. You want to call on them?
Sure.
Okay. You run with it.
Somebody else will be taking notes then?
It's been recorded.
Oh, okay, great.
Oh, was that there? I don't think it was.
All right, I'll go ahead and close the rooms.
All righty.
Lauren, do you need the rooms closed? Because it's still showing in progress. So maybe I need to do it.
Oh,
I'll close them.
It says we'll close on 122nd, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
working. It's not working.
Yeah, it's not showing.
Were you able to close them?
Yeah, let me try it. Go back in and see.
Let me try closing them. Let's see. Yeah, the countdown is not working and it doesn't look like it's.
You can't just close them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
And then in another minute, can you just close them? In about a minute?
It's not letting us close them. So I'll be right back. I'm going to go visit the rooms, but somebody might need to do the debrief while I go visit.
If you send them a message, they can purposefully leave the room themselves. They can start.
Let's do that.
That's strange.
So no one knows how to come back, go back to the main room. I'm the one quit from the meeting and come back again. So it takes a while for them to figure it out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to try to make me a co-host and I'll see if I could find it?
Oh, we found it. It's just not working. But
Yeah, it's just not working. The close
can make you a co-host, no problem.
I did that already. She's a co-host.
I get locked in space.
I see it. It says the breakout rooms will close. Are you saying the 120 seconds is not working?
It's not counting down. It usually, if it's closing them, it counts down. It's just, yeah.
I just wanted to point something out, everyone. When I left my room, it kicked me out of the entire Zoom. So that might have happened to other folks as well.
Okay.
That happened to me as well. I left the
interesting.
room and then I had to come back in.
That's very strange.
Okay.
I might have done it wrong. I take full
I think like
responsibility.
there's something glitchy happening. There's something glitchy happening.
Room 5 is asking for help.
Yeah, they're like, how do we get out of the room? I'll be right back.
It was acting a little funny. We actually had to go all the way out because then I got
Yeah.
out of the room and then I had to leave the meeting and come back in. So it was a little hiccup there, but hopefully we don't lose too many
That
people.
doggone soon.
It's like that that game that you play, the panic room or whatever. You can't get out until you solve the clues. We didn't know we had to use our brain so much.
All right, I'm going to try joining them, joining room 5 and helping them out. Let's see.
Yeah,
Like
my
a
room in
rescue.
space.
We fell off. I lost the Zoom.
I know, that's what everyone's saying.
A little
I just logged back in.
Yeah, me too.
That's probably what everyone has to do.
Okay.
That's weird though. It says leave room.
Hi, Franz. Nice to see you again.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Okay,
Did you have to log out and log back into?
I did.
Seems like
Okay,
everyone
I
has
think it's
to.
everyone.
Yeah.
Lauren,
It looks like there's still about 60 or 70 people scattered about various rooms.
Easily.
A few people in my room were stuck in there and couldn't get out.
I'm happy to visit the rooms because it seems like I can and just tell people to log out.
Yeah, to log up and log back in.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Good idea.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Oh, it's not letting me go to another room, so never mind.
Oh,
One of the things about having to leave and come back on is we lost all the chat, just to let y'all know that there's no more chat information for us to click on links.
Can you send a message to the breakout rooms, letting them know to leave and come back in?
Yeah, is there any way that we can just do that on, like, can we just bring them back to the main room?
You should be able to close the breakout rooms.
I think there's something wrong with the technology.
Yeah, there's something wrong when we click close breakout rooms. It's not counting down from, usually it does a
Right.
countdown and it's not letting
Like
us do
stuck.
that. Yeah, it's just
What if
stuck.
you just shut down the whole meeting and then everyone will fumble back to the original?
It looks like they figured it out in room 4. It went from 40 to 20.
yeah, a lot of
No.
people are joining
Hanging up.
now.
Yeah, they're coming back in.
They must have seen your message.
Yeah, we're up to 99 people now.
Yay.
Okay.
We are, we just got one room, I think, remaining coming in here.
Showing 13 people in room 17. I didn't think we were supposed to go that far down in the rooms. Huh.
We got about, how many people out there, do you know? We have 119 back.
I think we had 150 to start, right?
Yeah, well, 177 actually at one point.
Looks like about 30 some odd people in the various rooms. 13 people in room 17.
There's a room coming back fast now. We're up to 125.
I think if you want people to come back, what you should probably do to make it easy is to put a link to this main Zoom call into the chat of each room to make it easy for them to get the thing. Just, I think just because it's just clearly there's a bug that needs to be fixed here.
Yeah. Can we tell how many people are still in rooms versus those who've logged out and not logging back in? Okay, Amrit.
Let me look. I was trying to put my Zoom link in the broadcast, but
Is room 1 back yet? Anyone from room 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How about room 2?
Heidi and there are 2 people from room 2, but I would imagine most of them are back.
I think we're good. I just got room 17, which was the last big room that had a whole contingent of people continuing their conversation. So I think that most people have been visited and invited back into the fold.
Okay.
We should be ready to move forward.
All right, Lauren, take it away.
Okay. Hello. Thank you. And my apologies for that. I've never had a situation where Zoom would not let us end a breakout session. But I'm glad that you found your way back here. We are going to spend time first just hearing from each spokesperson from our rooms. and to just the salient points, the big ideas that came from your conversation. And then we're going to have the opportunity to add in and have some deeper, continued discussion. But we're going to just first get a report again to make sure we hear from every room first, in the interest of the time frame. So we'll start with room number 1, which was our the first group that looked at the elementary student surveys. Who's your spokesperson?
That would be me. We looked, and I'm on a phone, so I was not looking at the data, but remembering the data, we were both, all of us in the group were struck by the elementary data across Community Park versus Johnson Park versus Riverside versus Littlebrook with respect to happiness. And we would like to think about and dive deeper into why Johnson Park was so much more positive than Community Park with respect to program and with respect to students understanding and knowing their identities as who they are today. And one of our members had a great quote summarizing the principal of the middle school from my generation, who said the hardest thing about his job was to bring a giraffe, 2 bears, and I'm forgetting, sorry, our 4th mascot of the elementary school is a gorilla, and bring them together to make them a tiger. So I that's a nice imagery for thinking about how each of our elementary schools have different things that make their culture a valuable culture for the students going through those schools that then carry forward into the middle school, not just for the students, but for the parents. And how do we grab those positive aspects to bring them forth into the rest of their schooling? And group 1, I don't know if I missed something you want to bring forward.
I would just like to add that there the disaggregation by race for some of the questions showed a distinct dissatisfaction on the part of Black and Latinx students.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Thank you so much.
I think just to add, just at the elementary school level, the growth and development and understanding it is deep, but they also don't know necessarily how to express it, and the survey may not capture all of that very valuable information. So I just wanted to add. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great. Okay, let's go to room 2. This is the middle. Oh, wait, no, we had one more group on the elementary school survey, I think. Did we have folks in room 8? Who was our room 8 for the elementary school survey?
You're not back yet.
Our elementary was 10 and 17. I'm sorry, no, it wasn't. 8, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. Maybe there wasn't any from room 8. That's okay, we'll go on to middle school, room 2. Who's your spokesperson?
So that's me, I am Leo. So a couple of, I guess, observations on the data. I guess one thing was that, there were some pretty clear patterns between, as I would say, between 6th grade and 7th grade. I think the 6th graders seemed much happier and much more positive than the 7th graders, presumably due to pandemic reasons, but obviously hard to know why. There were also, pretty consistent differences for both, for gender, as well. I think, generally the males scored more positively than the females. And again, hard to know why exactly, right? But those were kind of patterns in the data. A few numbers jumped out. I mean, I think there were some kind of troublingly low numbers about, students in the school treat each other with respect, or treat teachers with respect. Those numbers showed up in the 30s. They seem kind of surprisingly low to us. I think beyond that, I think we had a general, I think there were some concerns around, student engagement and learning. The numbers aren't quite as high as we would like them to be, but I also think generally it's kind of hard to draw. It's hard to know why, right? It's hard to know why the numbers are what they are. Is it because the students like to answer questions a certain way? Is it because of? Is this hard to know, right? And so I think in terms of figuring out causality here, that seems kind of a pretty hard task. So that was kind of our. I hope I didn't miss anything. Someone jump in if I did, but that was sort of our overall perspective.
Thank you. That's terrific. We have now 3 Room 3, which is the high school survey group. And then we'll have 2 others, but yes, go ahead.
I guess I'll jump in. We didn't sort of pick a spokesperson, but I think I was nominated to moderate at some point. So we spent a lot of time talking about the reported disparity in experience from Latinx students in the high school, which was really striking. You know, what I guess just how that is striking, and that we felt that it's an important fact to address. We also looked at we're struck by the students reporting other in gender seeming to have a much more negative experience, and also to a lesser degree, but there's a sort of more negative reporting from the female students and the male students, which was particularly striking because it seems to be a reversal from the younger grades, especially elementary school. A member of our group mentioned that there's a recent Gallup poll that showed, interestingly, that there hasn't been a sort of drop off in families reporting nationally, families reporting satisfaction with their schools during the pandemic, but that the overall sort of percentage nationally of families reporting satisfaction with the schools is higher than in our district. And anyone else from our group that wants to jump in, please go ahead. Yep, maybe that's it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Let's go to room 4. I know you're ready, Sam.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I tried to nominate someone else to do this task, but we ran out of time because we're having such a lively discussion. It was a discussion that I think maybe was echoed in other rooms as well, which is a very lively discussion about a perceived tension between equity and between making sure that individual kids all are able to reach their heights. And I think that there was a lively discussion that I would characterize as being fairly contentious, but I think that we converged on some practical action and perhaps a way forward for a very specific intervention that might possibly be helpful. And for us to just point out something I think others have already noticed, which is that survey effects of 10 points or larger might identify subgroups that could lead to targeted intervention. Yeah. And I think that although we had some brief back and forth on theory and on concepts of equity, we resolved it by talking about specifics that seem to lead to fewer hard feelings, and also led towards targeted interventions that appeared to be perhaps helpful in building equity, in building excellence at the same time, and in applying resources that the school system already has. And in particular, we ended up having a fairly congenial discussion, and honestly, to my thinking, an inspiring discussion about science teaching. And we heard about specific problems that were present in the high school with the loss of a key coordinator who's been really contributing a lot in terms of building science programs that can be inclusive, that can really help kids from marginalized groups. And we appear to be at risk of losing things that are valuable, like Summer STEM Academy and other programs that can really bring in students who are Hispanic, who are from Mayan and other speaking backgrounds. And I would say that although we can really have, I think, continuing disagreements about issues of equity, there appear to be some practical challenges that we can solve by focusing on excellent teachers and excellent programs in a very specific manner. So finding things that we can agree on, like the importance of inclusive science education. And it just struck me that I think that we started converging on that. I wouldn't say there was complete agreement on what I'm saying here, but the targeted intervention of making sure that we have a good science coordinator and making sure that we uphold progress that's been made on inclusiveness that's really been building for the last 7 years. That really emerged. And I would be remiss not to point out that we did have the advantage of having one teacher present, Mr. Eastburn, who's been a witness to this in the elementary school and also in the high school.
It's great.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's go to room 5. Actually, did we have anybody in room 5? We must have.
Yeah, we're in room 5.
There.
Room 5. And hi, and I guess I'm delegated. We looked at graduation rates and the post-secondary outcomes, which are 2 short pages, but we kind of the positive we saw was that our numbers are actually very high. They got higher in the pandemic in terms of graduation rates, and that we are, all of the subgroups also seem to have relatively higher, they have pretty good numbers, but there's gaps, right? And it took, we asked some data questions. We wondered where we stood versus the competitive set. So what about the national averages? What about New Jersey? And for the 2 to 4 year college where the kids go, it's 100%. So it's really just a breakdown of the kids who go to 2 or 4 years, but what about the kids who don't? So we wondered about that. And that led us to the question about vocational programs and, what are we offering there? Are we giving appropriate support, making it a viable option? And what would success look like in that area? Graduation for the sake of graduation. Are we meeting the expectations and needs of our kids of all the different demographic groups? And then I think we had kind of a summary. I don't know, Drew, Drew or Judy, do you want to talk about where we the big question we came out with or the thought?
Yeah, and I'm happy to jump in, Beth, Judy, and feel free to add to whatever it is I say. The point that jumped out at us was that our outcomes for college matriculation and graduation were actually impressively high, we thought. And the gaps seem like a discrete subset of the student population. And considering the resources that are available to Princeton, we actually have the opportunity to aim for true equity, to focus on the ones that are not achieving those same outcomes, use the resources that we have to bring them up to the same level of opportunity. We're not a school where, the failure rates are incredibly high. I don't know if any of you have looked at pages 39 and 40, but there isn't a number on that. There's only one number that's lower than 70%, and most of them are in the high 80s and 90s. So by focusing on the ones that are sliding farther down on the success rates, which are a very small subset of our student body, using the resources we have to focus on them, we do have an opportunity to achieve a very high level of equity. And I think that should be our goal. And that was essentially the summation of the end of our conversation.
I am muted. I'm realizing I'm talking. Thank you very much. Let's go to room 4. I'm sorry, room 6.
So I'll speak up. Hi, it's Matt, the business administrator here. We had a small group. We were a little disappointed that more people weren't as concerned as we are with chronic absenteeism. At first glance, the data on page 28 is very disconcerting, but being the optimist that I am, so in the 2021 year, the rates for low income and English language learners was up to 3 to 4 times that of some of the other groups, which is unfortunate, but in closer look, the last pre-COVID year, it was only twice. So I'm a little optimistic, but that's still not acceptable. Of course, kids need to show up to keep up. So, we had a nice discussion with the 5 of us that were in that group.
4.
4?
Oh, you so 4 of you apparently had a great time.
5. We had 5, Fern. I got to meet the schools again.
You're the numbers guy, Matt. That's concerning.
We had 5.
No. Name them.
Oh my goodness.
Fern, Larry, Stephanie, and Mickey.
That's 4.
And myself.
Oh, and you. Okay, well that's 5. Okay. You count
You're
too.
absolutely right. Okay, sorry. I just was focusing on, I wanted to see what was really going on, with the absenteeism, because it's been a problem for some time, and suspension and different things. I'm hopeful because of such a resourceful town that we come from, that we can put things in place, because as you say, and most of the absenteeism are from poor families. And it's because they're going out to work. The parents are going out to work. Who's minding the store? They can't. The kids are doubling back and going home. They live a block two away from the school or whatever. So, and to find out we don't even have a truant officer or anything like that, it makes for a big difference of what can we put in place, as far as you have a lot of community volunteers that are ready and waiting to step up and see what can we do to help support the school, on these issues that are very strong issues that I believe can be addressed.
That's great. Great. Thank you, Fran. And we'll go to room 7, which is teacher experience and participation in coursework.
Hi, I'm Charles. I'll report out for group 7. We, as a group, we agreed that actually the time allowed for the amount of data, we just need more time to kind of digest, but we did have some questions about the survey, one being under what context were the surveys distributed to the students, and how if any way did that influence the outcome of the data. We also wonder if the surveys were made accessible to the teachers as well, or to the parents. What we did agree on was, and we drew from our experiences, both as we had members in our group that were parents of students that already graduated, students that are still early in their in the elementary years. One kind of common thread that we did notice about the quality of teacher is that there's some level of disparity, even amongst teachers that are teaching the same course, same grade, and not solely based on qualifications or their style of teaching, but their level of engagement with the students. We also notice and agree that overall, in having conversations with our students and also with specific teachers, that there seems to be a very low morale amongst the teachers. We question what type of support are there for the teachers, because ultimately they kind of hold that thread in communicating and in educating the subjects to our children. There's also concern about the direction of the curriculum, whether this set of data and how that is going to impact the future curriculum. I think similar to what was raised earlier about achieving high standards and maintaining high standards while focus on equity. So if there's anything I missed from the group, please feel free to chime in.
That's great.
Great, thank you.
Charles.
We're up to room 9. I'm not sure if we had a room 9 though. I think it was
10, 11, 17, 25.
Great, let's go to room 10.
Yeah, I'm Kenneth, room 10. We have a dozen people in the room, so it's not too small. So we actually, fairly surprisingly, we reach pretty good consensus on a number of points. And of course, if I miss any parents in the room, please feel free to jump in. The first points, we feel that this survey actually has a very limited data points. So the data sample is really small. And how can we draw conclusion from this limited amount of data? So, in our count, there are only 160 respondents for this survey. Then if you divide it up into different groups, right? So each group only has like 10 or 14 people. So statistically speaking, the variance is too big and you cannot really draw any conclusion. It could be totally random, right? So the second point we want to say is exactly what do you compare to, right? So why you think Princeton's failed? So do you compare to to California? Do you compare to Franklin Township? So we need to know this. We need to know what other benchmarks are out there, right? Because nobody is perfect. So is Princeton perfect? No, it is not. But has Princeton failed? I don't know. I think, from the parents that I know, we are pretty happy. We have been pretty happy. But why this issue popping up? That's a little concerning. So we need to be scientific about this, right? And especially when students say they have issue with DEI, do they understand what DEI mean, right? Was that, in the survey, any of you, education or statistics, there's some influence there, right? So that could bias the result. So now we're further concerned a little bit. That was, although we stated in the meeting that our goal was not to set on equity, but it seems like this is a predefined goal. Or all the board did was have this consulting firm to come up with all this data, do this survey and try to prove this point. That is not scientific, right? So this is concerning. The group is very concerned about this. Last point, the group wants to state is this. So even if there is an issue, okay, so there is no justification for overhaul everything, right? It's just like a society, a company, right? Overhaul everything. Say, break down now. Shit, let's go back. Sorry about my swear. So let's go back. Let's do something very different. How do you know it's going to work? There are tons of models proven to be work, right? But that's not a DEI, right? So we need to focus on a resource to do something that is proven to be working, right? And let's say we want to help students who are lagging behind, who are unhappy, right? Is that because their family issue? Is that because their learning issues? If so, let's find specific reasons not to be targeting just because he's Black or he's Asian. Don't talk about this. Let's be specific to individuals. If they have problems, let's identify these problems and help them, right? So don't just use identity on top of those. That's not going to solve the problem, right? That we know. So those are the points I summarized. I'm sure I missed some. So group parents of the group, feel free to jump in.
It's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all of that. That's great. Now let's move on to room 17. No, 11. I'm just sorry. I'm missing my numbers.
11, 17, 25.
Thank you, Mutio. 11, room 11.
So I guess I'll do room 11. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm Kim Tu. On June 1st, I'll be joining Princeton as the new assistant soup of curriculum instruction. So I appreciate hearing your feedback tonight and listening in and getting a slice of things that are going on through this process. A lot of what our group talked about was echoed in some of the other rooms that were just shared. But one point, and I believe Rita put it in the chat as well, was the standardized testing data that we looked at is dated, right? It's the last year's 2018, 2019 because of the pandemic. And so we sort of talked about, well, what will this new set of data from standardized testing look like? But when we look at the greater context, what internal systems does Princeton have? What internal assessment measures? Where does this fit in with, we're looking at one assessment, how does it look in the greater picture of things? When we look at our reading assessments or our math benchmark assessments or our science assessments or whatever it may be. Another point was just talking about internal systems like INRS or MTSS. How are we getting support and resources to students who might be struggling along the way? How are we working with partners in the community before kindergarten even to support students who might need early intervention? So it was a rich conversation. We didn't delve too deeply into the data because there were so many things to look at, but I think the group really wanted to think about the greater context beyond, you know, the standardized testing data that was shared.
Very good. Thank you. Let's go to room 17. It's crickets. Was it room 18 that we meant? I think it might have been room 18 that we meant, which was the academic outcome data. No?
You muted. Okay, well, let's go to 25.
Yeah, we'll go 25 then.
Yeah.
I guess I'll talk for 25. There were just a few of us in that room that spoke. And we started, I guess, feeling like it would have been helpful if we got if we're looking at this from an equity lens, if we had a definition of what the district is using for equity. If it is a definition of, is the district trying to meet the needs of every single student and put resources in for every type of student? Or is it the definition of equity of trying to raise up those that are failing more? So that was like an initial point that was made. And then we looked, I mean, it was, you couldn't not notice looking at the testing data that the Asian and the white columns were predominantly much higher scoring than the columns of the Black, Hispanic, ESL, and the students with disabilities columns. There was no question. It was mostly green and blue versus red and orange. So the question was, you know, obviously there needs to be things to put into place to better help the students that were scoring in the red and orange columns. But the question is, can we do that while still offering the high achieving students the right opportunities? Can we have equity for both, for both ends of the spectrum? And then the other thing that was discussed was, you know, we also looked at this data and there's no way to know, you know, are the children that are scoring low having trouble with the testing? Do they have undiagnosed learning issues? Are they not being supported at home? Maybe it's stuff outside of the school that's contributing, not just in the school. We didn't have all of that data available. We just have standardized testing scores. So it makes it a little more complicated to figure out what the data means, but it was very obvious data.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Okay, I really appreciate everybody lifting up the synthesis of their questions as well as a very active chat. We will have all of this information and we'll be pouring over it. I'm going to hand it over to Mutiu to wrap us.
Thank you. And then Dr. Kelly, is Daphne still there? Daphne, you still there? Okay, now I want to make a few comments and then I'll ask Dr. Kelly to close. The first phrase in my notes, I said, very impressed. I'm really impressed. We're about almost 20 minutes over and we still have 142 people. I just can't tell you how special that is. So I commend you for being engaged and staying engaged. And I hope you keep that, we keep that going. There are a few, regarding data, we can have analysis paralysis. And data, usually you look at lots of different angles so you can see the trends in the data. Each one of us can have an issue with a particular question or set of questions or particular assessment. What I'm inviting you all to be looking for are the trends. And the trends usually are quite clear. So, but you know, take another look and look at the trends. The third point I want to make about the survey, we actually, the personal design survey is a professor at Penn State. We didn't put it together. We don't know enough to do that. That's his specialty. That's what he does. So If you're looking for the research background or the scientific basis for the questions, that's where it came from for us. And in terms of equity, I was very clear about defining what we think equity is. We said at the very second slide in your PowerPoint, we said we facilitators, we guide, we don't command or control, but we do direct. I think it's important for you to continue to check us out, to know where we come from. So we frontal about our point of view, but we never impose on any client. So, and if you see us doing that, you should call us out on it. But my final statement really is just to encourage you to stay open, stay engaged. As long as you all come from that mindset, you will arrive at a place that's beautiful. Your district on average is doing very well. And your district on average is not working well for all kids. That's not conjecture. That's not a guess. That's just both statements are supported by the data. You're doing very, very well in some areas. And someone asked a question about how do we compare to other districts? When it comes to educating all kids to high levels, no one has figured that out. Wouldn't it be great for the great Princeton public schools to be one of the first that does that? I think that'd be terrific. And many of you talk about having the resources to pull it off. What we need to have is the commitment. And at the end of this process, you as a community will need to define what equity means for you. Our job is to present you to yourself and to present you to the research, and you will make the final determination. I'm very impressed with you, with your energy, with hanging in there. And I can't wait for us to, to meet again on the 30th. That's the next meeting, not the 17th, but the May 30th. So I'm going to pass it back to Dr. Kelly. Thank you all for coming. And, on behalf of my team and myself, we're really very delighted with how this evening went. Thank you. Dr. Kelly?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to just make one correction, though. I believe the next session is on May 31st.
31st.
Because the 30th is Memorial Day holiday. So thank you all so much for participating this evening. Thank you for remaining open, as Mutiu said. And the other thing that I want to point out to everyone is both and.
Yes.
Both and. Both and, the opposite is either or. So I see a lot of energy in the chat regarding opportunities for students that are taking advanced courses now. It's both and. We want our students who are in those courses for the district to continue to meet their needs and actually even surpass where we currently are. And for all of our students, we want all of our students to thrive. We want all of our students to feel a sense of belonging. We want all of our students to succeed. It's not an either or, it's a both and. And I think as a community, we have the talent, we have the resources to come together around this. So I just really implore you, I really encourage you for us to try to work together and not, for us to see each other as either or. Rather, it's a both and. So I look forward to continuing this conversation. Thank you for the feedback that you've provided this evening. I would like to thank all of you who also serve on the other teams for taking time out of your evening to be with us. And I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're good. Thank you all.